There's been a, well, small setback for billionaire Jeff Bezos' space company Blue Origin. Its latest rocket test ended with a fireball. The rocket blew up on the launch pad during a test. Blue Origin was preparing the rocket to deliver satellites into orbit. It comes just days after Blue Origin said it had won the contract from NASA to fly missions to begin constructions of a moon base. Well, earlier we spoke to the space expert and editor of NASAWatch.com, Keith Cowing, and I asked him when he saw the footage of this explosion, what did it tell him about what might have gone wrong?
Well, last night was supposed to be what they call a static fire, where they would test the rocket, see if the engines are okay. And normally I wouldn't take the time to watch that. So the first thing I saw, the first news I had was this video that you're showing right now. And in NASA parlance, we would say that they did not have a good day.
Yes, you could say that. There was, I think, a previous accident once was called from the other company was called an unscheduled. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it is not the first.
RUD. It's a rapid unscheduled disassembly. Yes,
That's what I meant. Perfect. I love that. Now, this is not the first setback for the New Glenn rocket. Do you see a pattern emerging there in Blue Origin's development process?
Other than it's a new rocket, and you know, if you look at any video of a first launch, rarely do you see it work perfectly. There's always you test a little, you fly a little, you fix it, you try it again. The first couple launches were okay. They were just test launches. The third one had a second stage issue, which in essence didn't put the satellite where it needed to be. And that was being worked on. And then this today, or last night, is rather catastrophic. As a matter of fact, I'd have to get the exact numbers, but this explosion is on the order of what a small tactical nuclear weapon like the blast that devastated Beirut. So this is not insignificant. There's buildings nearby. The launch pad was damaged heavily. Significant setback for Blue Origin.
Are those failures to be expected in developing a rocket?
Yeah. More so in the past when we were, just learning how to turn a missile into an actual launch vehicle. But now they tend to not happen as often, but when they do, it's just the same result. You lose the vehicle, you have to go back and fix things. Unfortunately, this has happened at a very bad, and you're going to ask me about this, a very bad time where the launch last week of SpaceX's Starship was okay for a while, then the first stage had problems. So our Federal Aviation Administration shut that launch vehicle down. Now this one has failed. Both of them are needed for America's Artemis program to go back to the moon, to launch one or the other or both lunar landers and so forth. So we're in a bit of a pickle right now with both vehicles having problems and a imposed deadline from the race to beat China back to the moon. And I don't know that it's impossible, but it's a little bit more difficult or sporty, as we would say.
Now, NASA relying on these two companies to provide the technical means to take people back to the moon. Is that the right policy, do you think?
Yes, if you do it right, and having more than one option is usually the way that you say, well, if one doesn't work, the other will. That's how we went to the International Space Station. We had SpaceX and Boeing. SpaceX was splendid in their ability to do this, and Boeing failed. So we had the option. This time, however, it's much larger, more complex vehicles, and they both have problems. NASA's rocket, the SLS, the Space Launch System, is launched twice. Perfectly, but it's very expensive. And the reason they went with these private firms was inherently cheaper, and they would put their own money into it. So, there's a risk in all aspects of this, technical and also programmatic. And, sometimes you get it right. And right now it's there's a lot of meetings going on, and a lot of folks thinking, is this the path to take? Do we need to change course? It's quite clear from our administration that we want to go back to the moon and we want to beat China there. So I'm just going to be interested to see what the solution is for, this latest problem.
Now, you said there's lots of meetings going on. I really can imagine that. Jeff Bezos says they'll rebuild and continue. Realistically, how much time and money does a failure like this set them back?
First of all, both Bezos and Musk have infinite amounts of money for all intents and purposes, and they're willing to spend it to get this moon exploration thing done. So I don't think I worry about that. Schedule wise, it's going to become an issue because one depends on the other, and America depends on both. And right now, they again have problems, and at some point, NASA, who ultimately pays the bills, is going to have to make a decision how they're going to do this. They really don't have too many solutions available because they pretty much put them on the plate to do it the way they're doing it now. So, it is what it is. Rocket science, unfortunately, is difficult.
And this is actually rocket science. Let's not forget that. Now, in this commercial space race, is it becoming too aggressive, pushing two companies and two CEOs, actually, against each other and maybe risking things before they're fully ready?
Maybe, but if you look at how we've gone from government programs to private sector, I mean, you look at commercial air travel, that went from airplanes made out of doped canvas and the way that they barnstormed, as we called it, to commercial airlines. There were some robber barons, so to speak, that pioneered Pan Am and some TWA, some of these other airlines. That's all fallen away now, and we have what we have. I suspect that this is part of the growing pains of what we take to, take our interest in going into space beyond just one flight now and then to something that's routine. So I guess you need the big egos at some point, and eventually one of them will figure it out, and then somebody else will say, hey, wait, I can do it cheaper.
Keith Cowing there, editor of NASAWatch.com. Thank you very much, Keith.
My pleasure.